Oh dear. Heck is it? Okay, hopefully I'm live here. Hopefully I'm live. Maybe. Okay. Oh, that's good. I'm trying to figure out where the heck chat went to. Let's see. Okay. Nope. Google Hangouts. Mm-hmm. Good grief. Okay, here we go. Okay. I know it's live now. There we go. Okay. Typing comment test. Great. Okay, I'm ready to go here. Good grief. Okay, let's get rid of this guy. So I'm going to start out with some tests on a globular cluster here. I'm pointing at Altera right now. And so, okay. So here's my Sky Safari. See if I can, that's good. Okay. And let's see, we will try out NGC 6760 as a test to see if everything's working right. Good grief, why do I have... Wow. That's better. Okay. So I thought I'd try this guy for starters, and since it isn't quite dark yet, and there it is up there. I had some trouble with collimation of focus a few minutes ago, so I had to do an emergency recollimation just before I went on air. No panic there. Why did this thing do that? Sky Safari sometimes works great, and sometimes it's just a little goofy, and sometimes it's hard to figure out whether it's Sky Safari or whether it's the firmware in the telescope. And overshoot, you hit a little tap on the centering controls and it'll shoot like crazy, crossed like God. It's like some sort of communication problem with the telescope. Okay. There. Okay. So I gotta load my darks. That's a cool thing about Sharp Gap is it does have a pretty extensive dark library control, and also allows you to take flats. And so that's just single exposure right there, looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and start stacking it. And it's centered enough. So I'm going to reset the histogram here, start a live stack, and figure out this. Looks like the star sizes should be at least 3.6. Oh yeah, fine. Uh-huh. Okay. Wow, bad karma. Sky Safari. I was having all sorts of trouble earlier in the evening also setting up Sky Safari to talk to the scope. So I'm going to go ahead and let that stack for a minute. And we'll see how it goes. Coming out pretty nice. It's a nice little knot of a globular cluster. Just the color balance here a little bit. Still got some daylight, turning things a little funny colors. I don't know why everything looks so green. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reset the telescope controller. Hang on. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's a better sound. You can see this has been stacking for, we got 87 frames or so. It's looking pretty decent. Looks like still hair on the blue side because of overflow. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and everything seems to be working now. No more technical problems, hopefully, and then we can move on to some other things as okay, I'm going to go ahead and align because I'm pretty much centered on that. The telescope gets within about a half a degree to a quarter degree, and so I can just and sorry, a little bit. What is this? This is NGC 6760. It's just a little west of Altair. A nice little globular cluster. The seeing is actually pretty good tonight. I'm actually going to tighten up my star size filter a little bit to sharpen things up. It's looking pretty good though. So it's about 3 minutes of, or 2.5 minutes of stacking. So I'll go to 3 minutes and then I'll move on to the next target. I'm just doing 1 second exposures here. So this is 163 frames stacked. I figured I'd looked at some slightly brighter things while the twilight is still with us a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and save a 16-bit stack of the raw image. And then this is as viewed. This is with the histogram adjustment. The raw image is just what the camera is spitting out and what's been stacked by SharpCap. And then I usually also save an as viewed as it's displayed on the screen with the histogram applied. Hi, Larry. You missed some panic moments ago, so hopefully things will be smooth from here on out. So I'm going to move on from 6760. If you guys, I'm in Aquila right now, so if anybody has some requests, feel free to shout it out in the comments. See, I was going to try out some of these planetary nebulae here. They're pretty interesting. Some pretty interesting objects in Aquila. It's got some bright ones, some dim ones. It just seems to have the highest concentration of fairly bright planetaries of any constellation. Yeah, let's do this one. So 6781. Okay. So I'm going to go back to SharpCap and clear the stack. And let's see if we got anything in our field of view here. I see something. That's good. Fairly well centered. We can go ahead and start stacking that, see what we got. I'm at bin 2 right now, and I was kind of hesitant, thinking, it's like, okay, do I really want to try bin 1? And it just gets more technical and slows things down, and I can do it, but sometimes the mounts need some TLC to get it to behave. So sometimes I just prefer on these virtual broadcasts to or virtual star parties to stick with a bin to a little bit lower magnification, essentially, and that's coming out pretty nice. Let's see what our stars are pretty sharp. I was looking at Saturn a little bit earlier this evening, and it was just awesome. I stuck a Barlow on there and my 6mm, actually 9mm. So yeah, it was about 300, about 400 and about 550x, something like that. Really nice. Oh, that's interesting. Why did it do that? I don't know why it did that. So 6781, this nice little planetary. It's really pretty darn big. It's like 1.5 by 2. Looks pretty decent visually as well, and but it's a really easy target for imaging, and just comes out quite nicely. And considering the star images and tracking are pretty good, I think I'm going to switch to 2 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and go with 2-second exposures and see how that works, because the tracking looks, actually, I'm going to go to individual frames, see what the tracking looks like. Oh, that looks good. Okay. Okay, I accidentally was applying the display histogram on top of the live stack histogram, and that usually creates a pretty unpleasant image. I was kind of wondering why it was so noisy. You have to turn on this histogram to see what you're doing when you're looking at single frames, but not when you're doing live stacks. And for whatever reason, it applies to both live stacks and to or live stacks and to single frames. So that is pretty darn decent there. You can see the central star. I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit. Whoops. So it's a little easier for everybody to see. So you can see the central star. It's got that nice little blue cast to it. And lovely hydrogen alpha emissions. And then the center is a mix of hydrogen alpha and hydrogen alpha O3 and H beta. So it kind of gives that whitish appearance. So I am going to go ahead and save this. Save as viewed. Okay. And I am going to switch to 2-second exposures. See what we... Okay. Even 2-second exposures are getting really small star images, so this is good. We're getting good tracking. Histogram is pulled up further than it needs to be now. I find that 2 to 3-second subframe exposures are usually best. This is a 16-inch reflector, and I guess the question is how big a reflection would you need to be able to see a planetary like this? In color, certainly it's in color it's certainly it's certainly, you need to start seeing color visually, you'd need a lot of of aperture to see start seeing any color. You won't see reds and so on. With bin 2, or I'm at bin 2 right now, so you can start getting, if you do exposures with a camera, you should be able to get something like this with about an 8 to 10-inch telescope if you're doing imaging. And I'm going to go ahead and adjust this down a little bit more. This increases the SNR a little bit when I go to a 2-second exposure. So signal to noise ratio is, oh, oh. So that answer your question, Daniel? I wasn't clear as whether you were curious about visual or imaging. We're starting to get some nice star colors here too. And I think the 2-second exposures improve star color. You get a little more saturation and overall get more color in the image. I probably should pull the blue down just a hair. Man, that is really tight. Trying to get the background a little color correct a little bit. Oh, that's better. I just need to tune this down just a hair. That's pretty good. Okay. So it's a little darker now too, so we're getting better images. So, hey Greg, we're looking at NGC 6781 here. And let's see here. So where's my desktop? There it is. The 1-second exposure is August. So there we go. Okay. So there's the 1-second exposure right there. And you can see the saturation and the color is just a little bit better. So 2 seconds really helps get each subframe above the signal or the noise in the camera. And so I usually like to do a 2-second or 3-second exposure. And beyond that, it's not as useful. And in fact, if you increase your length of your exposure, it decreases the number of frames you stack. And the more frames you stack, the lower your overall noise ends up being in the end image because it averages out better with more frames. So there's this kind of balancing act between making lots of frames versus enough exposure in each frame to get a decent signal to noise ratio in each subframe. So we're at 3 minutes here. The previous image was around 3 minutes too, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and save a 16-bit version unadjusted and as viewed. And so I'll take a look at that a little bit later, and I'll post these to the what do you call it? The forum. There you go. when I get a chance. Bubble Nebula, yeah, Cassiopeia is coming up. I was thinking of moving over there a little bit later in the evening to try to get the Bubble Nebula. I still hadn't gotten around to that yet. So, oh yeah, Daniel, 6-inch Newtonian and SLR. Is it a tracking? Does it have tracking, the 6-inch Newtonian? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and actually, you know what? I'm just gonna let that go for the moment. And while I'm going to the next target here, so let's see, 68. Oh, this guy should be interesting. Let's try this one. It's nearby, and so I'm going to go ahead and clear the live stack here, and we'll go to the next one here. Here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to auto, which shows me the full camera field, and I'm going to zap my display so that, there it is right there. So I'm going to get this centered. Pretty close. This looks interesting. I've never looked at this one before. Okay, so what was it? What did I say this was? This is NGC 6804. So let me mark that up here before I forget. And then I'm going to go ahead and live stack that. And also going to reset this. And why am I not stacking? Good question. Why am I not stacking? Oh, try turning the minimum star width down a little bit. That may have been a little bit too big. Digital gain is a little low. Sometimes the stacking algorithm just does not see. Oh, this looks like it's picking up a lot of noise. Let me increase the noise. That might be our problem. Dang, why are we getting so much noise all of a sudden? Trace the digital gain. That's not helping. Black level? Oh, that's it. Huh. Oh, okay. Maybe the black level is too high. I think I had the black level set for something like Stub Stewart. There we go. Okay. I must have had this set. Oh, that's picking up decent stars. Okay. All right, we're good. As it gets darker, sometimes I have to adjust the alignment controls to compensate for the background sky brightness. And I think I had these definitely set for a much darker background sky, so that kind of messed things up a bit. Make sure that I've got the display histogram reset. And I'm gonna turn off my star highlighting. Here we go. Oh, okay. F4.8. You may want to look at. Do you have a 2-inch focuser or a 1.1 inch on your 6-inch? If it's under 5, you may factor. It's really important for wide field. You got a 2-inch, great. So I use a there are a bunch of different coma correctors out there. The one I use is fairly well priced. It's from Explore Scientific, and you basically unscrew the. It's got an adapter for eyepieces, and you can remove that adapter for the two, and then just screw your camera right in to the coma corrector with spacers as needed to get the camera far enough back so the coma corrector will correct properly. Okay, now we're getting some data here. This is I'm talking to my telescope with Wi-Fi, and it needs it could use a little help, improvement. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit so everybody can see that. So I'm getting some pixels here at this scale, but the structure is kind of interesting. I'm really tempted to switch to bin 1 and get some. Ooh, God, the star is okay. Okay, I bite. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'm going to go to bin 1 because this has some interesting structure. I think we can see if I switch to bin 1. So, let's see where I'm at. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to half frame and 2-second exposure. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, my tracking isn't good enough right now. It may be a little windy too. A little whisper of wind can really mess with things. So yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Stick with bin 1, or bin 2. It also has to do with the location in the sky too. That can sometimes mess with tracking quality. It is a go-to job, and so it's really the the mount really isn't designed for tracking or for imaging. Bin 1, actually bin 2, typically if you do binning, the noise will be reduced because the camera is actually averaging out 2 pixels to get the, or several pixels, to get the, go from bin 1 to bin 2. So when you go to bin 1, you'll actually have a little bit more noise in the image. Um, but again, with stacking, of course, that'll go away. But yeah, bin 2 actually, sometimes I'll resample something that I imaged at bin 1 if I'm really trying to pull out some subtle detail and I don't really need the angular resolution. So if when I'm post-processing, I'll stretch the contrast and then I'll resample 50%, which is kind of like going from bin 1 to bin 2. And then that'll actually give me more gray levels to work with, and it'll reduce the noise again so I can pull up the contrast a little bit more. The other thing that may be, I wonder what else might be causing some problems there. I'll have to think about that. Turn down the fan. Yeah, I just stuck my head outside, and indeed, it's gotten windy. So I think we're going to be sticking with bin 2. Okay, so let me pull up. So I think I did save this. So I got about 2.5 minutes of data on that. That's a pretty little planetary. I'll have to do some more imaging of that at some point. When it's okay, so let's see. Where's this guy? 49. So shall we look at? There's some more planetaries down here. We could take a look at, or let's see. This is a smaller one. This one, let's see, 6772. And I think maybe take a look at one more planetary there, and then we can kind of wander up towards Cygnus. So I'm going to try this guy here. It's fairly large at about one arc minute across, and the magnitude is pretty decent. So we'll give that one a shot. Okay. And the mount's drifting a little bit as it's settling in. Okay. I do not. Oh, wait. Okay, there are bright stars there. I am not picking this up. These are single frames, and I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, let me go ahead and live stack this and see what shows up. Oh, let's put this at 2 seconds too. 3 is going to be too much of a problem with the wind that's kicked up. Wow. Hmm. I do not see that planetary there. It should be big enough to see, and it didn't. It looked pretty bright. Huh. Okay, there's a double star. Hmm. Okay, I am not pointing at the right place. I'm going to prowl around a little bit, because that should have been as bright as the other one. Ah, there it is. Dang. Alrighty. Let's try that. Dang, this wind is really irritating me. Okay. NGC 6772. This one looks more oval. It's not really round, is it? Definitely fainter. Looks like the wind settled down too. The storm just got small again. I don't know what that was all about. A little gusty wind coming through here. Probably came kicked up just when I was starting to look at trying to use bin 1. It tempted me. Looks like the central star is starting to show up there a little bit. Interesting. It almost looks like the central star has blown a little hole at the center of the nebula. There's a little darkening right around the central star there. Let's see, I have my, yep, okay. Whew, cooler's going like crazy, okay. I guess we're kind of getting these little gusty wind things where it just like puff periodically. Boy, I sure would like an observatory dome. That would fix my wind problem, wouldn't it? I'm going to look at the individual frames here. See what the star shapes look like. Okay, I'm going to up this to 3.9. I think we can afford that. Okay. Yep. Okay. Back to the stack. Yeah, this one's definitely a much dimmer object. Kind of almost got a blue color in the middle there. I don't have any filters other than a I have a what do you call it? An IR cut and a UV cut filter, which improves color saturation. The RGB sensor I'm using, and most RGB sensors, some of the filters they'll work fine in visible light, but sometimes they'll not block UV. So, for example, the green channel, all the little green filters in my RGB sensor, they select green decently well in the visual spectrum, but as you get into IR, the sensitivity of the green or the green sensors, the amount of growth, the how should I say this? The green RGB sensors IR, and so IR will then kind of tend to contaminate the green channel. So even if there's no green, it'll kind of start filling with green. And so if I have something that's blue and red, start adding green in the middle, and suddenly your color saturation goes to hell. So typically with an RGB sensor, it's a good idea to have an IR UV cut filter. So that just chops off right at 650 or at 400 nanometers and cuts all the UV below 400. And then one that cuts just a little below IR, where IR starts. And so now we're here, and that's distinctively taking on a box shape. Interesting. And that hint of something in the center actually looks like it's not a dark region, but actually some it's starting to turn a little red. So it must be some additional just red emission in the nebula in the middle there for some reason. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this and move on to another target. Let's see what's in good position right now. Actually, I'll just go ahead and I'll just let that keep stacking while I'm zeroing in on next target here. So let's see, we can go, where's Cygnus? We could hit the Veil Nebula or Blue Flash. There are also some nice little galaxies over here, seem to remember. And actually this is, let's see, where is that? Let's see altitude on that thing. It is 67 at 119. So and maybe I'll take a look at, head up into Cygnus and take a look at the Veil, this part of the Veil Nebula right here, and see what that looks like. I've never taken a look at the Veil from my backyard. I've taken some images of it from Skyview, but okay, that's smoothing out. You can see the noise on the image there is smoothed out quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and save that again. Last save I did was with 3 minutes, so 130 frames. And I'm going to go to, let's see, Veil, this little part of the Veil Nebula. I'm going to run outside and make sure I don't have any cable tangles. Okay. My field of view with this camera is about 26 by 36 arc minutes, something on that order. And so it's, you really, I mean, that square right here, that is the field of view of my camera. So I mean, my focal length's 1800, and so it just means I'm going to get narrow fields of view on things, just the way it is. But you know, there are lots of folks that have equipment for doing wide field imaging of the entire veil and so on. So I can focus in on some of the details and some of this these smaller structures and so on. Now I'm pointing up here, so that might cause a little more trouble with wind. Hopefully not, but let's see here. I suppose plate solving would make my life a little simpler, but boy, that takes up a lot of disk space. Cygnus has amazing star fields. sometimes just imaging. Sometimes I'll just go into Cygnus and I'll just start imaging a random globular cluster just to see what I get, or a random open cluster. And frequently you get rewarded with some unplotted nebula that's passing by. Wow. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to a known bright... Yeah, stop that. Come on. There we go. There. Well, I guess we're by 52 Cygni. And so I guess I'll just take a shot right there since I got it. Okay. Ooh, wow, pretty. Okay. Got that reset. The Veil Nebula is just amazing. There we go, it's starting to come into focus. So there's 100% right there. Pretty nice. Star imagers are nice and small too. Wind must have died down. And that's not shabby. Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll pass by the elephant trunk on the way over to Cassiopeia. And it'll get better as the stacking. I'm at minute and a half now, and so maybe you can see it's the image is kind of noisy right now. If you go up to 200%, you can see some of the noise in the image there. And a lot of that will drop out by 4 minutes or so. So I think I'll sit there for a few minutes while I'm waiting for that to come in. Now, one of the things as I get up higher in the sky, image rotation becomes a problem. That's the problem with the Dob. So you can see that I'm starting to lose image at the edge just a little bit as the image rotates. So there's a little bit of black here and black here. A little bit of black here is starting to show up. So the whole thing is rotating ever so gently counterclockwise. Bin 1, bin 2. Bin camera, the camera will have some natural resolution, some number of pixels in X and Y that it can expose. Say it's a 2000 by 3000 pixel camera. And so you can instruct the camera to combine 4 adjacent pixels to cut the resolution in half. So it'll span the same number of degrees across, or fraction of a degree across, number of arc minutes across, but it will stack 4 pixels together to make 1 pixel. It's a little more complicated than that with debayering patterns and so on, but that's the general idea. And so if you got some wind and you're having something that's very dim, you can go to bin 2. So it's kind of like going to a slightly lower power eyepiece, so that you don't dilute the nebulosity brightness as much when you're doing visual. It's the same principle with doing imaging. So let's see, we are at 3 minutes now. So I'll go in and here's 100% now, and I'll go up to 200%. And you can see the noise is dropping out and getting smoother. And so I tried bin 1 a little bit earlier this evening, and just because the star images were so nice and crisp, I thought, oh, the seeing's good enough. So I switched to bin 1, but then I was getting blurry star images, and I went outside, and the wind was blowing, so it's blowing around my 16-inch scope. It is something of a weather vane out in the wind. So sometimes there has to be pretty much no wind for me to really successfully do bin 1. And actually, I have had some really good luck with that. I've done some good imaging with M57, for example, getting some really high, good detail on that. Let's see. I'm going to leave it at that for now. It's pretty nice. We're starting to get some of the this red area out here too. There's a little bit of color. I'll pull up the gamma a little bit, and you can see some of that that red nebulosity out here from a little way from the edge. So if we go back here, you can see I've lost quite a bit to image rotation now. So this corner is rotated quite a bit. And if I stayed on this for another, like, say, 8 minutes or so, I mean, it would be a lot of rotation. So this is a problem when you get right overhead, you run into problems. But anyway, that's with a Dob, by the way. You don't have that with an equatorial, of course, which doesn't have image rotation issues. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and we'll move on to elephant trunk. Save. Oh, let's see. This is, what is this? What's the number on this jobby? Okay, now you're just messing with me. 6960. Oh, fail. Fail looks wrong either way you try to spell it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. Should be no, it's 6960. Sorry. Yep. So this is 52 Cygni right here. And when you look at the Veil Nebula, you can see what I'm looking at is I'm just looking at this corner right here. And you can see how my field of view picks that up. Okay, elephant trunk. Over toward Cepheus and the Bubble Nebula and all that good stuff. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Garnet Star because that's a nice bright star and you know when you've got it because boy is it red. Okay. So I'm going to and here go to and this is going to my telescope's got to rotate around, so let me check cables, make sure nothing goes awry. Well, that's a good thing I did that. The encoder, my telescope mount decided it needed to do an encoder reset, so it's going almost 360 degrees around the other direction from where you would have expected it to go. Okay, I see some stars. There it is. So there's the Garnet Star right there, and you can see how red it is. It's really pretty remarkable. I mean, a really red star is really orange, and but that is pretty good. So I'm going to align on that because that's just about the right spot in the center. And so here I'll go up to the elephant trunk right there. Now, one thing about my mount is I always have my camera oriented so that it's the horizon is essentially left right in the camera. It just makes steering a lot easier, and I'm a little bit rotated, but it's not too bad. So it just so I never rotate the camera, and in fact, I've got marks on the camera, so I always plug in at exactly the same orientation. That looks like the veil. There we go. VDB 142. VDB 142. Okay. And that's why. Oh, hey, look, there it is. How about that? My filter was a little bit too low. Looks like it needs to be about 3.6. There we go. Wow, that picked that up pretty quick. How about that? Wow. That's pretty cool. This is one of those things I hadn't gotten around to looking at yet. That's not too shabby. It's only 28 seconds and it's already starting to come in. Pretty cool. Looks like I got the end of it too, so. Look at this reflection nebula right here, fanning out. Cool. Let's see, 100% here. It's a little fan. Looks like there's some sort of a reflection nebula around this guy too, that little star there. Double star. Starting to pick up. It's really cool if I do a deep enough exposure on this, I'll start getting the kind of the brownish nebulosity in there. I do have an IDIS filter that I do imaging with. It's an IDIS light pollution filter. It passes blue and then has a notch where and that's also got a notch up in kind of in the yellowish orange area of the spectrum that kills low pressure sodium lights. And so the interesting effect is that because it drops out colors that are kind of just on the edge, in between red and green and blue, it tends to actually increase the saturation quite a bit in images. Very tricky to color correct, and I'm still experimenting with exactly how to make that all work. Yeah, this is pretty good. I got the contrast pulled up quite a bit. The gain, by the way, on my camera, I have it set at 420. So folks that use cameras, your head's probably popping off right now. The top of your head's probably popping off right now. 420, That's not a typo. Um, Typical exposure for deep sky is usually, um, more like 76 to 120, maybe 150. But for this kind of work, 420 works pretty well. Oh, that's looking really nice. Cool. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, we're getting some field rotation here. Not too bad yet. I'm probably going to lose this bottom. It's right at the edge. Oh, interesting. A little bit of a blue reflection nebula right there, or this little kind of wave of material in there. That's really interesting. And we're starting to see some of the dust kind of starting to come in here. Starting to light up a little bit. Very pretty. Good call, guys. I like that. We are at 3 minutes. I think I'll go to 4 and then, let's see. I'll go and let that go for a little bit. And this is kind of an interesting object, but it really needs a dark sky. Yeah, that came out really nice, didn't it, Craig? This is one of those things I really need to get at in a deep sky. Then I'll be able to pull out the color and the dust and all that other good stuff. Here, when I was at Skyview Acres. I'll show you what the Veil Nebula looked at Skyview Acres. Let's see, where is it? No. No. Where the heck did it go? Ah, here we go. So that was what 6960 looked like in Skyview Acres, and that's 360-second exposure right there. So yeah, you can definitely get better results from a dark sky site. That is very cool looking. Sharpless 2. I'll go check. Go ahead and save this. Save as viewed. Definitely. Oh, see, look, we're starting to pick up some of that dust right here. That's really definitely coming in now. Very cool. Let's see, 2108. SH2-108. Oh, the Gamma Cygni complex. Oh yeah, that comes in loud and clear. Let me see where that is relative to zenith. Unfortunately, that is only, I think that's enough. Should have asked for that earlier. Yeah, that's at 82. I can't get that. It's going to be too tough to get. Sorry about that. But yeah, I've done imaging in this area before. I think I looked at this guy actually at one point. But yeah, I poked around in a few spots in here. Um, my backyard is a little screwy too because once things go past meridian, can see it for about maybe another 15 degrees, maybe 20 before it goes behind my house. Because my house basically cuts my sky almost in half because my backyard is so narrow. It's a bummer. Globular. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think about where a good globular is going to be. Oh, actually, M15 is starting to get in a good spot. It's not exactly on the way to anything, but let's see. But M15 is a gorgeous planetary. 7006 is also pretty nice. But they're both about the same distance apart. M15 is actually in a good spot right now, so I could go hit that quick before going over to the cocoon. But yeah, it looks like I'm in the right. That's only a half rotation, so yeah, it should be good. Okay, let's try it. So M15. Here we come. Let me go ahead and. Oh, I'm at 5 minutes here. Let me go ahead and pause this. Go ahead and do a save. And so yeah, there's the elephant trunk before we leave. And you can see some of the detail in there. Starting to get some of the dust clouds in here showing up. You can see some of the brownish dust in there too. And all this red nebulosity from the larger nebula out here. So that's cool. All right. So let me, yeah, M15. Shouldn't have slammed that so hard. I think that might be it. There we go. Okay, let's get that centered. Good. Okay. Oh, hey, we're not there yet. Okay. All right. Now we start stacking here. M15. Stack. Clear. And I don't know why, but oh, you know what? The camera needed to settle in. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't fuss with that. All right. So that's pretty good. Let me clear that. And just the hit. Quite so much. There we go. All righty. The interesting M15 really has a very strong peak at the center, and it just shoots right up, and you can see that visually too. It's almost kind of got this knot in the middle. That's very nice. I have not imaged M15 yet, and I was curious as to whether I might. There's that planetary nebula in there, but it really needs to pick the contrast here a little bit. You know, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lower the gamma. Yeah, globular clusters tend to need more of a linear or a less gamma-like curve so they don't blow out the center. So I'm going to pull the white point, see if now I'm saturating the middle here. Yeah, that's a really pretty globular cluster. And there are a lot of stars in there too. You can see all this this faint stuff that hasn't come in yet. We're only at 68 seconds. The thing with globulars is that you really don't want to use too much of a curve on them. You want to keep it. You don't want to use such an exponential curve or a power curve, really. But you don't want to. You want to use some. They're so bright that you just don't generally need to do that. You just much less curve. The other deep sky stuff. I mean, I was doing a curve that looked like that, and with globulars, you just won't see the middle if you if you do that. So you just have to wait for these other little faint stars to come in. The camera has enough dynamic range that will never saturate in the middle. But and this, you can see the blue stragglers in this pretty nicely. All those little blue stars scattered in amongst the rest of the older stars in the yeah, Pegasus. It's M15 is right off, I guess, the nose. Enif, Enif, something, I don't know. So, yeah, there's, you know, there is, I think they do have a listing for the planetary nebula in here. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. So, it's like right at, that's where that planetary nebula is. It's right next to the core. So that sucker's really hard to pick out. There's no way of picking that out without a filter, because it's just going to get lost in this starlight otherwise. I'll definitely have to try that out sometime. But no filters tonight. Actually, no. Stephen's quintet is pretty a pretty good target. I'm gonna go ahead, I think, and save this guy. We're at just about 3 minutes here, and I'm gonna dust that just a little bit. good. I like that. So go ahead and save a 16-bit version of that so I can play with that in a cloudy day. And then go ahead and clear this. And let's see. Actually, that's pretty close to where we're at. And this transparent, so I think that might actually look pretty darn good here. Let's see, where is it? It's over. There we go. Well, first we'll hit 7331 because that's a nice milepost to know that you're in the right spot. So I'm going to go ahead and slew over to that. Yeah, I think it is true. Absolutely. There it is. And when I was in Morrow, using that was back when I was, I just had my Revolution Imager, and I, in about 8 hours of observing, I observed 37 objects. And I spent about 10 minutes maybe on each object. So yeah, you get a long night and you can see a lot of stuff. Okay. Huh. Oh, here we go. This is one of those things that just kind of fades in as the telescope stacks. It's like, okay, 18 seconds, 19. It's like, hey, look, there's a galaxy there. I'll pull this up a bit. Oh, wow, that's a pretty nice view. You know, the transparency is pretty darn good tonight. That is not too shabby. Look at the blue right here. I don't know if you can see that in the webcast, but there's this distinctive blue kind of region right here. So this is why I like 1800 millimeter focal length. I know that I had to, because one of the first things that they said in in astroimaging class is like, oh, you don't want to start with a long focal length. Yeah, that's pretty nice. And that's only a minute exposure, so we're going to get a pretty decent view there in a minute. The wind kicked up. See that? All of a sudden it's like, woo! Then the wind died down again. uh, oh, Greg, what was that you saw? Hey, look, there the gnats. Plus a lot of other friends in the background. Yeah, you can see these little these blue emission nebula right here, or actually they're probably OB associations. They're so bright they're in OB associations. They have emission nebula frequently in them, but that's pretty nice. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay, let that go for a minute, and then we'll go over to Stefan's quintet. I think we'll definitely get something there. And you can see how nicely these the little gnats. You can start seeing the spiral structure in this guy here, and in this guy. You can see the arms here, and I don't know. This guy's an elliptical, or actually, I think all of the gnats are all 3 or 4 of the gnats are spirals, if I recall. Oh, the blue, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm going to pull the black down slightly, improve the contrast here a little bit. There. This is smoothing out pretty nicely. Oop, too much. Okay, come on. There we go. Oh yeah, see, look at this guy now. He's coming up pretty nicely. I think I got my a little too much. Pull it down just a hair. There we go. That's good. The other cool thing here is that in this image, there's this background cluster right here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I'll go up to about 150. And all this stuff, those are galaxies. And this stuff, see that weirdly blue dot? That's a galaxy right there. Another galaxy. There's a cluster. So there's this kind of this stream of galaxies, you know, billion light years back behind this guy here. And they just go all the way down there. You can see them just starting to kind of fade in here. There's little specks, galaxies starting to come in. But the whole background here is just about half of the objects that you see that look like stars are actually galaxies in this image. But yeah, that blue one right there, I almost guarantee you that's a galaxy. That's probably like a little starburst galaxy or something. It's bright blue. It's really interesting. There's some galaxy clusters that I've imaged that have these really intensely blue galaxies in them, and some of them have a lot of them. So some clusters, for whatever reason, have a lot of starburst galaxies, and others don't. Okay, so we're kind of starting to lose our edge here, so I'm going to go ahead and call 4 minutes good. That looks pretty nice. Came out nicely. Save. If I let it go too long, it's going to start encroaching in the image, and I don't want to do that. So, voila! 7331. Pretty nice. Okay. So, we are, let me put this, where are we pointed at? We're pretty much focused on that guy. So I'm going to align to him. Okay, come on. There. Align. Good. And since we're so close, I'm just going to mosey on over. Manually. Okay. And let's see, where did we get? Are we in the right spot? I don't know. Yes, we are. It's right there. Let's go ahead and live. Hey there. Live stack. Clear. There it is. Telescope's still settling into the new location. This is good though. You can see the, watch the stack as the stack grows. You can see the noise disappear. That's a really nice view of it. So typically after about 30 seconds or so, or about 10 or 15 frames, the noise wow, this is way better than the other night. Yeah, the transparency is definitely good tonight. Seeing's good too if it wouldn't be, the wind wasn't blowing so much. I'm going to look at individual star images. I want to see what that looks like. Yeah, every other frame or so is lost. And that's just simply tracking. So you get a good frame, and then not so good frame, and a good frame, another good frame. So you can see it's rejecting either one. So some of this may be wind too. It just may be in a kind of a not so great spot in the sky. It does seem to track better in certain areas than in others, but yeah. That's pretty nice. Starting to get this kind of ringy thing going on here. And starting to pick up some loops and so on. And yeah, you know, I imaged this from home a few weeks back, and it didn't look as good as this. And this isn't, I haven't exposed for nearly as long. Yeah, I'll let that go for a couple minutes, and that's going to look pretty nice. So I'm going to find bubble nebula here. That's going to be a good target. Say, oh, hey, look at that. What's this? Looks like a galaxy cluster. Yeah. Okay, Cass, where are you? There we go. So the bubble nebula is at 60 degrees, 45. Okay, that's good. 60 degrees altitude. That will work quite nicely. Oh yeah, that's nice. Start seeing these little streamers down here, and there's this kind of sinuous kind of band of nebulosity right there that kind of wends its way through the center of it. That's a pretty cool compact group. I'll pull up the contrast a little bit more. Look at that bars. Looks like there's a bar in that one that's pretty strong. I wonder if that was a barred spiral that just got disrupted. Because it looks like this is kind of, these are arms that just kind of got torn around and separated. Actually, some of these other guys almost look like they used to be barred spirals too, or maybe are turning into barred spirals. I don't know. So let's see what else is in this image here. Faint galaxy there. The edge on lurking in the bottom corner there. Another faint galaxy. It looks like it might be an irregular. It looks like it has some an odd shape to it that's probably not a spiral. That looks like that might be a little galaxy there too. Another edge on, or actually that might be an elliptical RCA. Another little galaxy there. So this little guy there, hey, look at that. Oh yeah, that's coming in nice. Well, we're starting to get some color now. These streamers actually have this bluish tint to them. Very nice. I'm going to go check out what I want to see what that little galaxy there is. Ah, this one. There we go. Oh, okay. NGC 7320A. Little 15th magnitude jobby. Yeah. Something up there. See, almost 4 minutes. That is pretty decent. Wow. Nice. Can't spell quintet. There we go. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, and look at this guy down here too. It's a face-on spiral right there. You can see some of the outer arms there. A couple hints of some, that's a pretty bright galaxy for how small it is. Very nice. Starting to pick up some knots hanging out there too. Wonder if that's an elliptical galaxy right there, or whether it's a core of a galaxy that just got thrown out. But yeah, that's a definitely a barred spiral that got distorted by this other galaxy passing through it. Same thing here, and then this is a more traditional spiral that got messed with. Looks like there's some small satellite galaxies here too, embedded in the group. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Oh yeah, no problem, Rose City astronomers. And I am going to move on, and I'm going to hit the bubble nebula. I promised I would do the bubble. Okay, so that is, hello, come on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I like doing these virtual star parties. This is the first one that's actually been fairly heavily attended. The last few I couldn't get them on weekends or Fridays just because the moon wasn't cooperating, the weather wasn't nothing was cooperating. So, but this week is like, it looked like there was going to be a little tiny window before the moon came up. And in fact, actually, the moon should be coming up now. So, so we may be in for some diminishing returns here. Okay. Ah, I see the bubble nebula right there. Okay, let me pan that into view. Too far. Yeah. Stop. Good. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, it's a good target. You can get the bubble nebula is really quite an attractive object, and it's oh, fix that. There we go. And it's easy to get a pretty decent image, and with some practice, you can get a really fabulous image. I think I have a hot pixel. Oh dear. See this little green? You can see it right there. That is a hot pixel, almost guaranteed. Okay. But We'll live with it for now. That is nice. Pretty happy with that. There we go. That is really looking bubbly. 75%. That frames it pretty well. This is, yeah, I did some imaging with this of the bubble with my my Revolution imager. It was one of the early nebula that I took an image of, and it was, I didn't know how to get my exposures right or pretty much anything right. So it was like, hey, look, it's this red circle-ish thing. But I'm sure I could do better now that I've had some practice. Yeah, I think I've got it in here. iCloud. There we go. Yeah, there's my Revolution imager, and you can see the difference. The Revolution imager is a very small field of view. And I didn't have flats working, and I didn't have darks working, and I didn't have a lot working, but at least I was using sharp cap. So I'm sure I could get it a lot better this time. But yeah, with the ASI 294, the dynamic range of the camera is so much greater, and it's so much more sensitive, and the read noise is less, and it's just there's so much more you can do with it. So that's 2.5 minutes right there. We're still kind of noisy. I've got the gamma pulled way up on this to pull out some of this detail right here, and that's why it's so noisy. To really get rid of that, it would probably need to go about 6 minutes or so. I don't know if I'm going to go that long, but yeah, that's pretty decent. You can see these little naughty nebulas here. I suspect, I betcha, I'll look that up. That's an interesting object there. So it is considered a planetary nebula. Okay. That's interesting. It is 1,400 light years away, though, so, Wait a minute. 11,000? They say 1,400 light years here, and they say 11,000 light years here. Okay, something's wrong. Oh yeah, are you which cluster are you thinking of? Oh, M52 you mean, or was that what you meant? Give or take a light year. What's a few light years between friends? A very long way, that's what it is. Some field rotation here. This is because I'm toward the pole. And so as I go, field rotation is bad around zenith as well, but if I'm toward the pole, that also produces a lot of rotation, of field rotation as well. But there's plenty of extra space in the field here, so I'm not going to lose anything. Yeah, you know what? I'm almost positive that's M52. M52 is just down there. It's a cluster. It's just below. Yeah, see right here. There's M52. So there's the bubble, and so yeah, with a wider field, that's no. Yeah, it's what, half a degree? Something like that. Yeah, a little over half a degree away. That would be the closest cluster to it. And M52 is a really rich, cluster. I don't think I've ever taken images of it, but yeah, it's a very pretty. It's one of those open clusters that looks like it's wanting to be a globular. Oh, that's smoothing out pretty nicely now. So you can see the noise and the images were much reduced now. And so I think I'll let that go to 6 minutes and then I'll save it. We're almost there. Yeah, it's a pretty unusual object. It's I kind of wonder about that, whether it's a true planetary or whether it might be a much more massive star. Because planetaries are produced by stars like our sun, and this looks a lot bigger and brighter, and I just wonder whether this may have been produced by a star that's a much larger star that had a lot more out of its outer envelope to dump, and maybe of one of those stars that's big enough that it'll go supernova at some point. Um, all right, so that's pretty cool. Okay. Oh, duh. Let's see. How big is that? That is dim. That is brighter and kind of small, but it's nearby. Huh. You know, I tried to do 1470 a while back and it came out terrible. Maybe I should try taking a look at that. It's right there. Why not? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It really has a three-dimensional effect too. It's with that star on it, kind of glistening. It's yeah, it's pretty nice. Okay, live stack. Okay. There we go. Well, there's the object right there. Yeah, it's bright too. Holy cow. Wow. Hmm. It's a much smaller nebula. Okay. Go. This is NGC 1470. And it's like right next to the bubble. So I thought, try that and see what that looks like. I think I looked at it once low in the sky with my Revolution imager, and I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing. And this one's, I see a little bit more detail, certainly. Man, that LED light really makes the sky blue. It's pretty small though. Here's the full field of view, so you can see how small it is. Oh, look at that. There's a reflection nebula up there. Yeah, see this? An excuse me reflection nebula right there. Looks like it looks like there's a bunch of stuff over here. I'm starting to, looks like there's something right there. Huh. It looks like a mini Orion Nebula almost. I guess that's all considered part of the nebula. All these bits of reflection nebula and so on scattered throughout. And you can start seeing a little bit of a reflection nebula right here starting to show up too, I think. Huh. Go to 50%. Okay, well, that's either, oh, look at that. There's another one. And there's another one. Okay. Yeah, how about that? Must be a star, a bright star right off the edge there. It's interfering with that image, unfortunately. I don't know if that's a dust cloud right there or if it's just from the star spike, diffraction spike there. Dang, this thing is just littered with all these bits and pieces. Look at that one right there. Wow. Well, I'm glad I went there. There's this little cluster, and then it's got this little red emission nebula around the edge there, a little bit of reflection nebula. It's like all of these separate little nebulas kind of in the same field of view. Sometimes I'll, if clouds or something coming in, or somebody turning on their light next door, yeah, I'll sometimes take a few image captures while I'm stacking, just in case something bad happens, or if the telescope gets knocked, big wind, or some sort of tracking problem, I start getting really bad field rotation, and there's a million things that can go wrong when you're taking exposures, and so it's nice to have some safety. That's pretty decent. That's an interesting region there. It just has lots of kind of a little potpourri of stuff. So there's 1470, and there's my little wiggly hot pixel. Doggone it. All of them. There are like 50 different darks I have to take for all the different exposure settings I use. Or, well, maybe I'm exaggerating, 25 or 30. That's neat. Yeah, it looks empty at first, and then you start seeing all this stuff. Look at that red star too. Wow, it's really red. Well, I'm glad I imaged that. 1470 had always been a disappointment for me. And now I'm seeing this right here looks like that's going to be something very interesting. Yeah, the dark, when you get a hot pixel, you can use darks to, when you expose a dark, it'll pick up those hot pixels, and that'll allow you to subtract the hot pixel out, or well, yeah, essentially subtract it out. And so yeah, definitely, most definitely, you can remove hot pixels that way. That's something that you see a lot in EAA images, is that like Malincam and so on cameras, they don't have, I don't think they have ways of doing flats and darks very effectively. And so they don't always subtract out all of those little image defects. So you get more of that kind of weird, odd stuff. So, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to do some more imaging of that sometime. That's an interesting thing right there, whatever it is. That little corner of NGC 1470 there. I'm just going to save that. And, you know, everything's looking pretty nice here. So we're right next door to the Cave Nebula. So I think that would be worth taking a look at here. Okay, there's that star, I think, maybe. I don't know. Okay, that's the right spot. Okay, let's see what we get. So sometimes I'll take a probing image just to kind of see what the landscape looks like, and then I'll readjust my target. Okay. So, oh yeah, definitely, yeah. That's you know what I was thinking was the planetary with the bubble nebula. It almost looks like the bubble nebula planetary almost looks like the region around the Crescent Nebula in Cygnus, and that nebula is actually a supernova precursor. So that nebula is going to get lit up by a supernova at some point. Okay, I've got a pretty red star, but I am too out here. But I think what we want to look at is down right there. So I'm going to pause this down a bit. Too far. Okay. Telescope being cantankerous. Okay. You settle in right there. Just settle. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have any coffee this evening. I should have done that myself. Dang. Not thinking clearly here. There. Oh, yeah. I'm still a little too far north. Dang, look at that star cluster right there. Wow. Yeah, this is the first time I've actually done some imaging on the Cave Nebula. And I'm still a little bit too far. This is irritating. Okay, let's try that. Come on, settle in. Here we go. Okay, I think that's got it. Dang, that's interesting looking. Huh, very pretty. Oh yeah? Wow, look at how intense the color in the nebula is right there. You need to adjust. Look at all the blue streaks in here. That's interesting. This looks looks like a kind of almost like the Veil Nebula in a way. It kind of has the same color palette. Very pretty. I really like this cluster here too. This loose open cluster. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, it's a ring. Now understand what I'm seeing here. There's actually this ring. It looks like a mix of maybe some H beta emission and some oxygen 3 emission over on this side. Because that's definitely some dark, well, that doesn't even look, it looks too dark. It's like a dark blue. So it's not H beta. Wow. Huh. Oh, and there's a dust cloud right here. Starting to show up a bit. I think it's a dust cloud. Either that or I've got a problem with my flat. Hope not. That's interesting. I'm going to let that go for a minute. That's stacking pretty well. Really nice. Yeah, that is really pretty beautiful. I like the dust cloud in here too. You get this, there are these dust cloud artifacts here. You can see that hard edge. Definitely looks like there's something going along here too. Interesting. That is a very interesting object. Now I understand why the last couple of times I tried to image this, I was not getting anything that I was expecting to see. I wasn't getting anything really because I was in the wrong corner of the nebula, and this probably requires some really deep exposure to get some of these other areas out here. Indeed, it's got a cave system. Yeah. It's even got that kind of angular motif there. That is really interesting. Boy, that hot pixel is irritating me, man. I'm going to be seeing it every single image now, and I'm just like, oh, God. I have to fix that before next weekend. Very pretty. 4 minutes. Yeah, I think I'll let that go a little bit longer. Hmm. Oh, you mean these guys are in the center of the wider nebula? Oh, right. So they're right in there. Yeah. And so that's right at the center of this whole complex. Interesting. Yeah, this is definitely a good target for a wide field telescope. Very cool. Okay, let's see here. Blue snowball. Man, I've never tried imaging that before. It's probably so darn bright that I mean, at 8.3. That's that's like trying to image the cat's eye. Hmm. Let's see, where is that? Is at 6. Oh, the Andromeda Galaxy is in a good spot. It's almost, it's just about high enough to get some good viewing of it. Okay, maybe try some of these guys next. Okay, let's see what we got. I think that's a flat problem. I may need to do new flats. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. Actually, I'm probably going to go for a while. I usually run about half hour over at least on these things. But I was planning on just kind of prowling around a bit, so I may just stay live and for a few more objects. Anything you'd like to take a look at? We are in the realm of the Andromeda Galaxy. I was thinking maybe checking out the Pac-Man Nebula or maybe the Gamma Cassiopeia Nebula. So I'll probably go for another half hour or so. Okay. I'm going to take a pit stop at the Blue Snowball just to take a look and see how bright it is. And then we'll hit the Andromeda. Oh, oh, ooh, okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Whoa, that's interesting. That's just a live, that's, I'm not even stacking. That is one bright sucker. Okay. That's like a 2-second exposure. Okay. So wait, what? Oh, yeah, okay. I was not in the right place. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Now I switched bin 1. Good. We're going to do 0.5 seconds. And then we're going to load that. So I'm going to do some very short exposures with this since it's so bright. And see what we get here. Got it. Okay. Now I just switched to bin 1 and hot damn. There we go. Tracking's good. Seeing is excellent. That's not too shabby. It's losing a lot of frames, but it's so bright that it doesn't matter. I'm only up to 1. These are half second frames. Okay. So with bright stuff like this, it's like you can treat it, you can deal with it almost like you're imaging a planet. So the same technique where they do 20 millisecond exposures of Jupiter and stack, 1,500 of them. Maybe image 5,000 and only keep 1,500 and stack those. And so you can essentially do the same thing with these tiny bright planetary nebula. And so this has been one right here. And I'm actually filtering for a pretty small star image. Because I don't want to get anything but good frames. The wind must have died down too. Of course, half second from exposures helps too. This reminds me of the Eskimo Nebula a little bit. With these little radiating dark features there. Yeah, actually, I have done this with the cat's eye too, but I didn't have good seeing conditions. The best I got was yeah, that was the best. Whoops, that was the best I did with the cat's eye. It was just a few weeks. That was maybe a couple months ago, and the seeing just wasn't good enough. I just couldn't really get into the core. I'm not even sure I did this at bin 1. So, but tonight we're golden. And here you can zoom in and you can see single pixels. And so if I continue to stack this, if I did this for like, 1,000 frames or something like that, I'd be picking up lots of little crisp detail out here. I did some pretty interesting images of M57 this way. And I think I did about 1,800 frames of M57 with 1 second exposures. At 22.5 seconds here, so it's I think I'm maybe being a little bit stingy. Oh, I wonder if there's something else going on here. Is there a brightness problem? No. Why isn't it stacking? Did it drift out of field? Very well could have been. No? I don't understand why this isn't stacking. It's those should have been okay. Oh, you know what? I'm wondering if there's a cloud in the way. That's weird. I don't know why that was rejecting so many frames like that. I think there's an outer halo to this. I have to go deeper to do that, but not right now. Interesting. Okay, so this is Blue Snowball, which is and 7662, right? The red dots are those red dots are stars that it isn't sure about, that it's trying to stack on. So when I highlight detected stars and turn that off, and now it shows it's just highlighting what stars it's actually using for alignment. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and did I save this? Let me just save this one more time, make sure I did it. Interesting object. And like the cat's eye, yeah, you don't have to expose it very long to get, get an image. And let's go back to bin. Actually, bin 1 is working pretty well. Maybe I'll stick at bin 1. And I'll do 2 second. Let's try it. Okay. Oh. Go to the Andromeda Galaxy. Okay. Yeah, the winds really died down, I think. Okay. Okay, what are we looking at here? That's what I thought. Okay, should be interesting. So this is M32 right there, that little fuzzy dot. Okay. Okay. Huh, that's interesting. We're lower in the sky and the seeing's not as good. Okay. Not anywhere near as good. Okay. Okay. Why is it doing that? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to move this way a little bit. Yeah, okay. Hmm. Okay. Gotta correct the color here a little bit. I reset it at some point accidentally. It's pretty close. Okay. The problem with M31 is it's too big. This is just one little corner of it. I think the moon may be coming up. That's why we're getting so much blue. I can compensate for that to a point. So there's M32. And you can see it's pretty noisy and the image is still stacking. What's going on here? 3. Okay. So you can see you see bits of dust and so on. And I'm going to go to 50. That's interesting. It's a sort of magnification is you can hunt for globular clusters. And in fact, in M32, we are, let's see. Yep, that's about right. So right above that bright star is a globular cluster. So it should be that right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a crosshair on it. Yeah, this has been 1. And we'll go to 100%. And so now you can see that little fuzzy one, that little fuzzy patch, that's a globular cluster right there. It's a little softer than the other stars around it. That is G156. And in fact, Should be able to see several others in the same field. There should be one. There's one. Yep. Yep. That's the globular cluster right there. That's G144. And that's the globular cluster right there. That's G172. And let's see what else. Are there any others in this field? Nope, those are the only ones that I see. Oh, there's one right there. I didn't notice that. Okay. So that's G172. So then there should be one right up here. There, that guy right there. That guy right there, that's a globular cluster too. It's interesting, they have this kind of redder kind of look to them. And you can look at those and they look like the same type of object. So we're at 1 to 1 now. So this is where bin 1 is really, we're actually kicking ass here because we're seeing 1-for-1 pixels on the screen here. And so you see little tiny dots of stars that are like, just like a couple pixels across. We're splitting very close together doubles. That's very cool. Okay. M32 and GCs. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Yeah, that it's funny, that globular cluster really sticks out now. After exposing for a little while, it's like, oh yeah, that's a globular cluster. There's another one, remember which one it was. Over here somewhere or other. Okay. So I'm going to go and, oh, look at, we're picking up these dust clouds up nicely too. That's really pretty. That's just this corner right here. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to go head over in this spot over here. Look at NGC 206. There, let's try that. still settling in after I'd moved the scope target. That's looking pretty good. Okay, there we go. Okay. So this is two big star clusters. There's NGC 206, and then this is another star cluster over here. And you can see the dust clouds in the galaxy starting to show up over here and in here. And after a few minutes, those are going to be quite prominent. So I'll let that stack up for a few moments. Oh yeah, we're getting good images now. It's good. Yeah, it's very much so in the direction of the moon. There's a house on that side of me that's blocking the moon from the scope. As soon as it breaks the top of the scope, the house, I won't be able to image anymore in that direction. I don't think. It's pretty bright. I think it's actually an M33, isn't it? Or near the moon is near. Let's see, where is it? Should be roughly in. Oh, it's in Pisces, so it's moved out of Aries. Or well, no, I guess it's in Aries right now, isn't it? Okay. So yeah, the M33 is a little bit too low to see. That's starting to look like something. That's a close-up of, that's a 1:1 pixels of NGC 206. That's pretty cool. Those are some bright stars. Okay, so there's 206 and oh, okay. There's a globular cluster there. And you know what? That's not plotted right. Because when I look at this, that looks like a globular cluster. Yellowish did with a soft edge. Okay, so if we go over here, oh, interesting. I guess that's a globular cluster right there. That's interesting. G76. I seem to remember G76 is pretty bright. Oh yeah, there's G76. Can't mistake that for anything but a globular cluster. The stars have very sharp edges in comparison. And there's more star clusters right there. Big open clusters. Let's see what our full view looks like. Not bad. This is the first time I've done bin 1 on the Andromeda Galaxy, so that should be interesting. How many frames have I got here? 2.5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to let this go probably another couple of minutes. And I think I may want to start wrapping up because the moon is about to ruin my backyard. That is pretty neat. Look at all the GCs and M31 there. Actually, I think I took an image over here and I just went hunting for globular clusters. Oh, Mirac's ghost. Oh man, I've been meaning to get down and look at these streams of galaxies down here. Guess I'll have to wait till a little later in the season to get at them. Okay, where are we at here? Good. This is awesome. Sky settled down, telescope settled down, the wind settled down, so now I can do bin 1. And of course, now it's time to close up shop in a few minutes. Yeah, I'll post all these to the forum, the high-res images here, so that people can take a look. And or some, I may have to post some of them on AstroBin so that people can see them. So good talking with you all, and good talking with you, Greg. I think you might be the last one there. Heal up, and hope to see you soon. Firing on all cylinders again. Okay, signing off. I can figure out how to sign off. There it is. Stop broadcast. So long, all. See you next time. I'll try doing it again in September.